The morning sun glows over Cape Town, turning the ocean gold. Nia Campbell steps out onto the balcony of her new mansion, the salty air brushing her face. The house feels unreal, glass walls, wide open spaces, and a view so perfect it almost hurts. Just a few years ago, she was living in a tiny shared flat, eating instant noodles and sketching designs on the floor because she couldn't afford a desk. Now she's here. At 28, she's built the dream she used to whisper about to herself on long, hungry nights. To celebrate, Nia decides to throw a party, a big one. She sends out invitations to everyone who mattered in her life, her old college friends, her cousins, even her mother, who hasn't spoken to her properly in years. "Let's celebrate together," she writes. It's been a long road. All afternoon, she decorates the mansion herself. Candles line the dining hall, soft music fills the air, and the smell of roasted lamb and chocolate cake drifts through the room. She sets the table for 20 guests, carefully placing each glass, each plate, with a quiet kind of pride. As the sun sets, Nia slips into a silver dress and heels. She stands by the door, heart racing, ready to open it to laughter and love. But minutes turn into hours. The candles melt down, the food grows cold, and the house, so full of beauty, feels painfully empty. Not one car pulls up. Not one knock on the door. The music still plays softly in the background, but the house feels hollow. The candles that once flickered with excitement now burn low, dripping wax onto the fancy tablecloth. Nia stands by the window, her silver dress catching the dim light, her phone in her hand. She refreshes her messages again. Nothing. Not a single text, not a single call. Just silence. She walks to the dining table, where the food still looks perfect. Untouched plates of lamb, fresh salads, glasses of wine waiting to be poured. The cake she ordered specially, the one with gold flakes and her name written in chocolate, sits untouched at the center. It's supposed to be the centerpiece of her big night, but now it just looks sad. Nia forces a small laugh, the kind that breaks halfway. Maybe they forgot, she whispers to herself, her voice barely a sound. She kicks off her heels and walks barefoot across the cold marble floor, each step echoing through the empty space. The house feels too big all of a sudden, too quiet for all the beauty it holds. She sits at the head of the table and scrolls through her phone again, looking for any excuse, any message, any reason to believe someone's on the way. Nothing. She opens social media, hoping maybe someone posted something. Maybe there's traffic. Maybe they're still getting ready. But her notifications are empty. Her mind starts to drift back to all the times she showed up for these same people. The nights she stayed up late helping her cousin with a job application. The weekend she lent her friend money she didn't really have. The long phone calls comforting people who never really asked how she was doing. She remembers rushing from work to celebrate their wins. Birthdays, engagements, promotions. Always showing up, even when she was tired or broke. Now it's her turn to be celebrated. Her moment to finally feel seen. And no one came. Not one of them. The pain hits her quietly, like a slow wave. She looks around the room. The candles, the music, the table she spent all day preparing. Everything looks perfect, yet nothing feels right. The success she once dreamed of suddenly feels small. She finally has everything she wanted, but the people she wanted to share it with are gone. At midnight, Nia walks to the balcony. The ocean glitters under the moonlight, waves crashing softly below. She wraps her arms around herself, fighting the sting in her chest. The city sparkles in the distance, alive, full of people, but her house stands still, silent. Deep down, she knows the truth. They didn't forget. They just didn't care enough to come. And that realization hurts more than she ever imagined. The next morning, sunlight creeps through the glass walls, spilling over the mess left behind. The candles have burned out, the food is cold and untouched, and the balloons hang half deflated, swaying weakly in the still air. Nia lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, her head heavy from a night of waiting and wondering. For a moment, she tries to pretend it was just a bad dream, but when she walks downstairs and sees the leftovers of her lonely celebration, the truth hits again. Nobody came. She moves slowly through the room, picking up empty glasses, wiping the table she had set so perfectly the night before. The smell of spoiled food fills the air. Every corner of the house that once felt like proof of her success now feels like a reminder of her emptiness. Her phone buzzes, and her heart jumps for a second. Maybe someone texted, maybe there's an apology. But it's just a notification from social media. She opens it, and her breath catches. There they are, her friends, her cousins, even people she invited, all smiling in photos from another party that happened the same night. A rooftop party across town. Champagne, laughter, dancing. She scrolls through the pictures slowly, feeling something inside her tighten. They hadn't forgotten her invitation. They'd just chosen to be somewhere else. Nia sinks into a chair and stares at her phone. The ache in her chest deepens, but behind it, something else starts to form, a quiet kind of fire. She remembers all the nights she slept on her friend's couch after her father died, just trying to get through one more day. She remembers sharing her last meal with her cousin when they were both broke, laughing it off like things would get better soon. She remembers sketching building designs late into the night, eyes burning, heart full of dreams no one believed. She had worked for everything, every degree, every design, every bit of success, while the people around her doubted, criticized, or simply ignored her efforts. And now, seeing them celebrate without her feels like a knife twisting deeper. But it also wakes something inside her, a strength she forgot she had. Nia wipes her tears, closes the app, and looks around the room. The mess doesn't bother her anymore. The silence feels different now. She takes a deep breath and whispers to herself, her voice calm but firm. They don't have to see me now. They'll see me later. And for the first time since the night began, she smiles, not the kind that hides pain, but the kind that comes from knowing she's done waiting for anyone to believe in her. She'll build something so big, they'll have no choice but to notice. Weeks pass, and the silence in Nia's mansion starts to feel different. It's no longer heavy, it's focused. The pain from that night hasn't disappeared, but it's changed shape. Instead of letting it break her, she decides to use it. She wakes up early, makes her coffee, and spends long hours at her desk, sketching, planning, and dreaming again. If no one's going to celebrate her, she'll give herself something worth celebrating. One day, she sets up her camera and starts filming her work. Simple videos showing how she designs houses, from the first line on paper to the final model. She shares her thoughts about architecture, sustainability, and how every person deserves a safe, beautiful home. At first, the videos get only a few likes, but she keeps going. She posts every day, drawings, time-lapse, short clips of her explaining ideas with quiet confidence. Then one video changes everything. In it, Nia shares a design for low-cost, eco-friendly homes made from recycled materials, homes she dreams of building in the poor communities where she grew up. The video spreads fast. People start sharing it, calling it inspiring and revolutionary. Within a week, it hits millions of views. Suddenly, her phone won't stop buzzing. Journalists want interviews. Investors ask for meetings. Architecture magazines feature her as the young woman redefining modern African design. For the first time, people aren't just seeing her work, they're listening to her voice. Nia can't help but smile when she sees her name trending online. Nia Campbell, the articles say, the visionary architect from Cape Town. She used to be the girl from the flats, the one who didn't fit in, the one they doubted. Now her name means something. With the attention comes opportunity. Instead of spending her new success on luxury, she decides to build something bigger than herself. She starts a nonprofit dedicated to creating affordable, sustainable housing for single mothers and struggling families. She hires a small team, and soon the mansion that once felt too empty turns into a busy headquarters. Papers spread across the dining table, models stacked on the floor, and laughter echoing through the halls. Each day, Nia feels more at peace. She's no longer chasing anyone's approval. She's building something that matters. Still, every now and then, she notices familiar names pop up in her notifications. Old friends liking her posts, cousins commenting heart emojis, her mother sharing her videos. They don't call, but she knows they're watching. Nia doesn't hold grudges anymore. She just smiles, posts another video, and keeps building. Because now she understands, she doesn't need to be invited into anyone else's story. She's writing her own, one design at a time. Months pass, and Nia's life completely transforms. Her designs are everywhere, in magazines, on TV interviews, on social media. People quote her words, share her story, and call her the architect who builds with heart. Her nonprofit is growing fast, and families are finally moving into the eco-homes she dreamed about for years. For the first time in her life, Nia feels proud without needing anyone's approval. Then one morning, her phone lights up with a flood of messages. "Hey girl, so proud of you," one reads. "You're famous now," says another. Old contacts she hasn't heard from in years are suddenly reaching out, their words sweet and full of excitement. Her cousins text things like, "We always knew you'd make it," and "When can we come see your house?" Even her mother, the woman who went silent when things got hard, calls out of nowhere. Her voice trembles on the phone as she says, "I knew you'd make it, Nia. I always believed in you." Nia listens quietly, her face calm. "Thanks, Mama," she says softly. But deep down, she remembers every unanswered call, every moment she needed comfort and got silence instead. The wound is still there, but it doesn't control her anymore. Soon, her old friends start texting too. The same ones who ignored her invitation months ago. "Girl, your place is stunning," one message says. "We should host an event there sometime. Something classy." Another adds, "Let's catch up soon. I've missed you." Nia reads every message with a faint smile. She doesn't respond right away. She's learned that not everyone who claps for you now was cheering for you when it mattered most. Eventually, she replies with polite words. "Maybe someday." Things are really busy right now. That night, she sits on her balcony again, looking out at the ocean. The city lights sparkle below, and the wind feels softer than it used to. She thinks about how far she's come, from that empty party to this moment, where everyone suddenly wants to be part of her world. Inside her, the old pain still flickers. It reminds her of who she was, of how lonely success can feel. But this time, the pain doesn't crush her. It fuels her. Because now she knows the truth. She doesn't need validation to feel worthy. She closes her eyes and smiles to herself. The people who once overlooked her now want to stand beside her, but she's no longer waiting at the door for anyone to show up. She's moved on, grown stronger, and found peace in her own company. For the first time, she feels something better than revenge. She feels power. One afternoon, as Nia walks through the busy halls of her mansion, now filled with her team and blueprints, an idea comes to her. She wants to do something meaningful, something that goes beyond her work and her success. So she decides to host a charity gala at her home. The goal is simple: raise funds to build homes for single mothers who are struggling, the same way she once watched her own mother struggle after her father died. This time, Nia doesn't plan it out of loneliness or hope for attention. She plans it with purpose. She spends weeks organizing everything: the decor, the music, the guest list. The mansion transforms into a dream setting. White flowers lining the staircase, soft lights glowing across the pool, tables decorated with fresh lilies and handwritten name cards. Her team helps set up banners showing the impact of her nonprofit, photos of smiling families standing in front of new homes built from her design. Then, when it's time to send invitations, she makes a bold decision. She invites everyone again, the same family members, the same friends, even her mother, all the people who ignored her the first time. But now, the invitation comes with a different message. It's not about her success anymore. It's about giving back, about turning pain into purpose. Let's build something that lasts, the invitation reads. As the night arrives, the mansion shines brighter than ever. The driveway is filled with luxury cars from business partners, journalists, and city leaders who came to support her mission. Cameras flash, people mingle, and soft music floats through the air. Nia walks through the crowd in a simple but elegant black gown, greeting guests with warmth and confidence. But as she scans the room, she notices something. None of her old friends are there. Not one cousin, not one familiar face from the past. Even her mother, who had promised to come, doesn't show up. The same empty feeling from months ago tries to creep in, but this time, it doesn't break her. She doesn't flinch, doesn't question herself. Instead, she smiles. She looks around at the crowd of new faces, people who believe in her vision, people who came not for who she used to be, but for what she's creating now. The air is full of laughter, gratitude, and hope. The night is a success, raising more money than she expected. As she stands on stage to give her speech, she looks out at the guests and says softly, "This mansion once felt too big for me, but tonight it feels just right, because it's filled with purpose." The audience applauds, and Nia glances briefly toward the empty seats meant for her old circle. She doesn't feel anger anymore, just understanding. They didn't show up again, but this time she realizes she didn't need them to. The night turns out even better than Nia imagined. The charity gala is a success. Laughter fills the rooms, music plays softly, and people who truly believe in her vision surround her. Guests take pictures, share stories, and pledge donations to help her build more homes for single mothers. For the first time, Nia feels like her mansion is alive, not because it's full of noise, but because it's full of purpose. When the last guests begin to leave, the staff starts cleaning up. The music fades, the lights dim a little, and the house slowly returns to quiet. Nia walks through the hall, barefoot now, holding a glass of water and smiling at the mess. Half-empty glasses, napkins scattered, laughter still lingering in the air. She feels proud, content, and at peace. Then she hears it, the sound of car doors closing outside. At first, she assumes it's someone coming back for a forgotten purse or coat. But when she looks out the window, her heart skips. A few cars have just pulled up. The front doors open, and in they come. The familiar faces she thought were gone for good. Her mother, her cousins, and her old friends step into the mansion, their smiles a little too wide, their voices a little too cheerful. They're dressed up, holding boxes of chocolates, flowers, and bottles of wine. "Hey, Nia," one of her cousins says, laughing nervously. "We got held up, sorry. Traffic was crazy tonight." Another friend adds, "We were totally planning to come earlier. You know how things get." Her mother steps forward and wraps Nia in a hug, holding her tightly. "You didn't wait for us," she whispers into her ear. For a moment, Nia just stands there, silent. The same ache that once broke her heart tries to return, but it doesn't have the same power anymore. She pulls back gently, looks at her mother, then at the others, all of them standing awkwardly, unsure, trying to read her face. She could be angry. She could throw them out. But instead, her voice is calm, steady. She looks her mother in the eye and says quietly, "No, you waited for me to succeed." The room goes still. No one speaks. Her words hang in the air, heavy but true. Her old friends glance at each other, eyes down, guilt written all over their faces. Nia doesn't say another word. She doesn't need to. The silence between them says everything about who was there when it mattered and who only showed up once it was safe to. She takes a deep breath, offers a small polite smile, and turns toward the hall where her team is cleaning up. "You can come in," she says softly. "There's still food left." And just like that, she walks away, graceful, composed, no longer waiting for anyone to arrive. The air in the mansion feels heavy. After that quiet, awkward arrival, Nia leads everyone into the grand living room. The candles are still glowing from the gala, and the faint scent of wine and flowers lingers in the air. They all sit down slowly, her mother on one couch, her cousins beside her, and her old friends scattered across the room, unsure of where to look. No one says a word at first. The only sound is the clinking of glasses being cleared away in the distance. Nia sits across from them, calm but distant. She isn't angry in the loud, shouting way she used to be when she felt hurt. This time, her silence says enough. Finally, Thandi, her best friend from childhood, clears her throat. Her eyes are red, and her voice trembles. "We were jealous, Nia," she says quietly. "You became everything we couldn't. You kept going, and it made us feel small." Nia's heart tightens. Thandi was the one person she thought would always stand beside her. Hearing that hurts more than she expects. She looks down at her hands, trying to keep her face neutral, but the words sting. Her cousin speaks next, her voice low. "We didn't mean to ignore you. We just didn't know what to say anymore. You were moving so fast, and we were still stuck. It was easier to avoid you than to face ourselves." Then her mother speaks, her voice breaking. "After your father died, I didn't know how to be there for you," she says, wiping her tears. "I was scared you'd fail, and I didn't want to watch you go through more pain. So I stayed away. I told myself it was to protect you, but really, I was protecting myself." The room goes quiet again. Everyone's eyes are on Nia, waiting for her to respond. Her heart feels heavy. Part of her wants to forgive them. Part of her still remembers standing by that door alone, waiting for people who never came. She takes a slow breath, her voice steady but soft. "I failed 100 times, she says. "I was broke, hungry, scared. And yes, sometimes I almost gave up. But I didn't. That's the only difference between us. I kept showing up, even when no one else did." No one moves. The weight of her words fills the room like smoke, quiet but impossible to ignore. Her mother lowers her head, and Thandi covers her face with her hands, whispering, "We're sorry." Nia leans back, her eyes calm. "I'm not angry anymore," she says after a pause. "But I can't pretend it didn't hurt." The honesty in her voice softens the tension. For the first time, they all see her not as the girl who made it, but as the woman who carried herself through the fire and came out shining. And sitting there, surrounded by the people who once left her behind, Nia feels something shift, not just in them, but in herself. The night ends quietly. One by one, Nia's guests begin to leave, their eyes red, their voices soft. No one is laughing or posing for pictures now. Her cousins hug her without meeting her eyes, her old friends mumble apologies they can't quite finish, and her mother kisses her cheek with tears running down her face. The grand living room that had felt so full just hours ago now feels still again, but not empty, just calm. When the last door closes, Nia stands alone for a moment, listening to the faint hum of the ocean outside. She doesn't feel angry anymore. She doesn't even feel sad. Just a deep, quiet peace. She walks slowly through the house, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. The same floor that once echoed with loneliness now feels like it belongs to her, fully, finally. As she moves from room to room, she sees little reminders of her journey everywhere. The empty glasses from the gala, the blueprints spread out on the dining table, the awards lined up on the shelf. Every corner tells a story of hard work, sacrifice, and the kind of strength that comes from being alone but refusing to quit. She opens the sliding doors and steps out onto the balcony. The night air is cool, and the ocean stretches endlessly in front of her. The moonlight spills across the waves, turning them silver. She wraps her arms around herself, breathing in the salt and the quiet. Her father's words come back to her, as clear as if he were standing right beside her. When you build your dream, don't wait for people to clap. Just keep building. For years, she didn't understand what he meant. Back then, she thought success was about recognition, about people seeing her, cheering for her, finally believing in her. But now, as she looks out at the horizon, she realizes he was right. The applause doesn't matter. The validation doesn't last. What lasts is the work, the purpose, the progress, the quiet victories no one else sees. Nia smiles to herself, a soft, peaceful smile. She doesn't feel the need to prove anything anymore. She's not the girl waiting at the door or the woman fighting for approval. She's someone who built her dream with her own 2 hands, even when no one believed she could. Down below, the waves crashed gently against the rocks. The mansion glows behind her, no longer a symbol of loneliness, but of growth. She takes one last deep breath, feeling the weight lift off her shoulders completely. She doesn't need anyone to clap for her. She already won the moment she stopped waiting for them to. The next morning, sunlight fills every corner of Nia's mansion. The air feels lighter, almost new. She walks through the quiet house barefoot, the marble cool beneath her feet. The night before feels like another lifetime, all the emotions, the tears, the apologies. Now there's only calm. She pours herself a cup of coffee, stands by the window, and watches the ocean shimmer in the morning light. On a sudden impulse, she picks up her phone and sets it on the counter. She turns toward the light, barefoot and peaceful, and snaps a photo. No makeup, no filters, just her in the home she built. She looks at the picture for a moment, smiles, and types a simple caption. When they don't clap for you, clap for yourself. She posts it without overthinking, then puts the phone down and goes about her day. A few hours later, her notifications explode. The photo spreads everywhere, thousands of likes, comments, and shares. People write things like, "I needed this today, and this made me cry." Her story inspires others who have been ignored, doubted, or underestimated. But Nia doesn't chase the attention this time. She just smiles quietly, knowing that the message isn't about fame, it's about freedom. As the morning light streams through the glass walls, Nia walks through her home, her steps slow and sure. Her voice, calm and reflective, echoes in her mind. I invited them once, but they never came. When they finally showed up, I realized I no longer needed them. Sometimes loneliness is just life clearing space for better people. She pauses by the open balcony, wind brushing through her hair, and lets the moment settle in her lirt. Then she exhales softly, peaceful and powerful. Fade out.